Hello, my kitty loving friends. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The cat food aisle is a scary nightmare
Yes, it
that leaves
is.
me baffled and confused. No grain, protein, the first source, but wait, is that real protein? And then, oh, fish, mercury, right? We found a company that is providing a food we don't even have to think about. They're doing the testing, they're doing the grain free. It's human grade, which you know is our word. Make sure it's human grade. We'll explain all this when we come back after this word from our amazing sponsor. Welcome back to 19 Cats and Counting. I am your co-host, Linda Hall, here with my ever-gorgeous blonde BFF, Rita Reimers. I like to make the R roll when I say that.
Rita Ramos.
Rita
I like
Reimers.
I like the way that sounds. Maybe you should say it like that all the time.
I will. I will
Linda
gladly.
Hall. That doesn't work.
Exactly.
But
We have
yes,
Sean from Pure Cravings. And I love you, but I
I have
talk
to
to
make
you
sure
every
I
day. I don't
hold the
want to
can
talk
the
to
right
you.
way. Pure
Right?
Cravings.
Yes,
Make the cans
exactly.
upside down, and you who are seeing us on video will see the tab side is actually the bottom.
Yes, I didn't know until after I had finished this social media video, and then I decided I was too lazy to redo it, that I was talking about it and holding the can upside down because of the tab. So thank you for joining us,
Yes, we're so
Sean.
excited.
Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Linda. Thanks for having us here.
We have 28 cats between us. Again, we're back up to 28. And our cats that love fish, I have some cats that don't like fish. They all love this, especially my Oliver, who is in love with Fancy Feast, fish and shrimp, shredded variety. He left that bowl to go eat the Pure Cravings. I've never seen him eat anything else like that.
Yeah,
And
well,
so, here's the problem, Sean. People ask us all the time, what's the best cat food to buy? So here are the rules, right? We want protein, try to stay away from grains, healthy grain if necessary.
And P.S., your cat has to eat it.
And yeah. So fish oil is a mercury problem, this, that, and the other thing. Make sure it doesn't have this, but yes, P.S. your cat has to eat it. So often it's like the one your cats will eat, but then they're eating junk. And Rita and I personally are occasionally feeding our cats things that we know are junk because it's all they'll eat. And if a cat doesn't like something, they won't eat it.
They won't. If they're not like dogs that will go and eat when they get hungry. No, a cat will starve.
So frustrating. And so for the longest time, the rule was meat has to be the first ingredient. But now we're learning about things like meat byproducts and meat meal and things that are looking like meat is number one. And then we've got the mercury problem. And as I said in the social media video I posted, Rita's Oliver will only eat fish canned food.
Yeah,
but we need wet food because we need that.
I've tried other, higher quality fish type food so that he wouldn't eat. This is the first one he left the Fancy Feast to eat.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Sean, this is the only company that is testing for mercury, right?
Like we do, yes. We're the only ones who proactively.
That right there is amazing, because that's the big thing with the fish, is that the mercury is the problem. It's not the fish itself.
Yes, correct. That's correct.
So tell us why you started this. Why did mercury concern become your concern? Yes.
Well, it's been a journey. So if you'd have to go back in time about 21 years for me when I started working on the tech, but 22 years ago, my mom got diagnosed with mercury toxicity. Wow. And my mom was on a point-based diet system where tuna was 1 point, and she started eating tuna every day. And so I was at UC Davis studying. I was in school at the time, and I came back to find my mom sick. And she had all types of cognitive problems and motor skill problems. And at this time in history, there wasn't a lot of knowledge on mercury in fish and the impact. So when we went to the doctors, they thought it was cancer. And we went and did this full battery of tests, and we didn't get the right diagnosis until a dietitian actually asked her, have you ever had your heavy metals tested? And sure enough, my mom did. She got them tested. It was 10 times higher than the FDA level. And we found out that the source of that mercury was the tuna. And so it changed my life. I had no ambition of doing any of this work. I was going down a completely different path. But when someone you love, whether it's a person or an animal that you really love, has something happen, it can change the course of your life.
Yes.
And so originally I thought, we just need to develop a machine to do this testing. We'll give it to the government and that'll be that. I was really, really, really wrong. So what the reality was is that we realized we had to not only develop the technology to solve this problem, then we had to find a way to implement it ourselves and bring this solution to people, because no one else would want to develop the standards to protect people the way we felt we had to. So what we did is we looked at the existing technology, and it costs like $100 per test, and it takes days to turn around the results. So if you go get existing technologies, laboratories can do this work, but maybe a company might test 1 or 2 fish a year for legal compliance or something.
Mhm.
Today, for us, we test between 10 to 12,000 fish per day, right? And we'll talk to you about how we got to that level after 22 years, but it started off with us first bringing this technology to all the big seafood companies to see if they would adopt it to provide the standards to protect moms like my mom. And no one wanted to adopt the standards. I got 2 narratives. Narrative 1 is mercury's not an issue, go away. And then I would look at my mom and say, well, that can't be true because my mom's sick. Or
Right.
they would say something to me that was even worse from my point of view. They would say, let's test to a level so weak that everything passes. And so essentially we would just wipe the issue away by pretending we're solving it, in reality doing nothing. So after almost a decade of trying to get these companies to work with us, we decided to launch our own brand. So it started off with us. Right now on the human side, we have a brand called Safe Catch. And the Safe Catch was the first step out. And we designed that to have standards that were in line with what the medical community would say would protect our most vulnerable consumers. So we think about a pregnant woman or a small child or a cancer patient. These are the groups that can't have really any toxicity in their body. And
Right.
let's set standards and limits to protect them. Because if we protect them, we protect everybody. And so from 2013, we started down that path of developing our own brand. In 2015, we launched that brand. And then that's still going to this day. But through that process of developing this brand for people, we realized that this issue was even more severe for pets. And I didn't see that directly at the time, but I started to learn it through the process. And we realized our mandate needs to grow. We need to go beyond helping moms and kids. We need to help all animals as well. People, cats, dogs, everyone needs to be
Agreed.
protected. And so we started down that path. And we'll talk about how we developed the SKUs we developed and the products we developed, but we went out and we went to the veterinarian community and we started to look what's out there. And we realized that 1/3 of cats will die of cancer. And that's the stat. And that's a scary, scary stat. And what we realized was that the heavy metals in pet food is between 800 to 600 times higher in pet food than human food. 800 to 600
Holy
times.
Toledo, that's ridiculous.
And there's no regulation really protecting limits on heavy metals in the pet food. So what we did is the same thing we did for humans, for pets. We went to the veterinarian, we went to the medical community for the animals, and we said, what are the standards that we need to set so that we can protect even the most vulnerable of cats from heavy metal toxicity? And the consensus that we received was 0.07 parts per million. So if you go to any Pure Cravings seafood item and you look on there, like you'd see here on the bottom, right below here, you'd see a limit on there. It said,
oh yeah,
lowest mercury limit of any brand, 0.07 parts per million. That's the limit. So that would be our
oh
ceiling.
yeah, this one's like 0.04.
That's right. That would be the salmon. And so as you start to develop those standards and limits, now we can really solidify a standard that all cats can start to eat seafood again safely. And as Linda said at the beginning of our segment here, she's saying, like, it's confusing. It's like so much information to try to absorb, and your cats are your kids, and so you start to want to protect them that way, and you're trying to get the most cutting edge information and knowledge. And we realize there's not a lot a person can do to protect your cats, to help your cat live its longest, healthiest life outside of feed, right?
Yes.
Unless you cook yourself, and both Linda and I tried that. That didn't go over too well with our cats.
We dabbled in that. That didn't last.
Then you have the AFCO concerns around balance and complete and making sure that we're getting all the right nutrients and we're getting so, we had to look at this opportunity to create something to protect cats. We looked at it holistically. But as you learn about our brand, about Pure Cravings, is it all begins with the health professional, right? It begins with that guidance. So we start by saying, that's where we begin. You set the standards, you create the mountain, we have to climb it. So that's how it began. We begin by setting our standards and our limits. And so if you look at all of our products, everything that we make, it all begins with protecting cats from this heavy metals and toxicity. And so that was the beginning. And we started out then learning how to make cat food, which, you know, for us, naively, we're coming from the human side of the world. We're like, oh, it's got to be so much easier to make cat food than human food.
Which is pretty much what I said when I
Cool.
ventured into making my own cat food. And as I said, that did not last. So
No, it is really difficult. Really, really difficult because you have, you know, to make it balanced and complete, you have palatability. You have to have a complete understanding of every ingredient going in and trying to understand what that ingredient would do to a cat's health. You know, traditionally, if you were to go back into the nature long ago, a cat would hunt, kill a animal, and it would start with eating its eyes and organs, and then would end with the tissue, but it would eat it all, right?
Right.
It would eat everything, and each part of
They got full nutrition that way, and also
Yes.
hydration.
And
Yes,
hydration,
exactly.
that's
And
what we said.
hydration.
Yes. They
Yes.
don't get their thirst, but they get their fluid with their prey. But then they don't get that when we come in. So we got to really push the hydration. Yes. It's
And that becomes another one of the guardrails. So we're like, how do we get our moisture level up? How do we get our taurine? How do we make sure it's balanced and complete? What's our vitamin packet? How do we make sure that it's protein forward? How do we make sure that
stuff is the most, the word I came up with when I did the social media video, because I still can't come up with the right word, was fluid. I'm like, it's very fluid. Like it's very hydrating. There's a lot of liquid in here, which is really the sole purpose for making sure we do wet cat food, right? It's
correct.
the hydration.
It's the key.
Yes.
And so all of the products we carry are, we're going to have great moisture content, and we focus on making sure that the liquid is really palatable. So when we put and do our feedings for cats to see how they react, our panels, if you will, of cats, they will come in and we'll see how do they respond to liquid, how do they respond to the protein. Is the chunks of fish too big, too small? You know, sometimes we have some of our members in our community saying they have to mash up the fish to be even more shredded. Some people say they love the chunks, but we always want to start off with saying, is liquid left? And almost 99 out of 100 will say the liquid is gone.
No, they will clean that up.
I clean that up. And so that's a great start for us in this process.
Yeah, I have this pouch I give them. It's different. It's not your brand, but I will try your brand instead. It's got shredded chicken in it and the liquid, and Missy drinks the liquid, and then Smoochie comes along and eats the chicken.
I don't know if it's balanced and complete anymore unless they're
exactly. Yes. Yes. Was that Jack Sprat would eat no fat, his wife would eat no lean? Yeah. You got
that's it.
So we started with the cutlets and gravy in that line, in large part because we felt that was a great first item in, but through the process we realized that palatability and certain cats want different things. So we started with that. We then developed a minced line, which is, you know, minced up tuna, and we put toppers on that. Again, all tested at 0.07 parts per million. And then we're launching now a chicken line as well, because the number one ingredient for wet cat is tuna. Number 2 is chicken. Number 3 is salmon. So we wanted to make sure that we had all of those proteins well represented under our brand. So while we don't focus on mercury in the chicken, that's not an issue. We'll talk about mercury in the fish in a second. We do have that line here that's going to be coming out later this year, and it's going to be antibiotic and hormone tested using a free range.
I'm looking forward to that. I have a lot of chicken lovers here.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it. It's not, and that's what I appreciate, and I want to get across, is that this is just now the line that I could relax about, because I became that ingredient hunter. And let me tell you, Detective Inspector Linda on the case, it was just crazy. Regulations there, you don't have to list all the ingredients. You can just say cleaning agents.
Linda, what regulations?
Exactly. And so we're finding all these harmful things, and I'm having to become this detective and go through every ingredient and then look up what that ingredient is and look up, is that safe for cats? And look up. So I feel like this is something that I could just get the box and feed it and not think about it, because yes, it's the pesticides, the fertilizers, it's the hormones. And I'll tell you, if this all sounds right.
I was just trying to read it. I'm like, I have my contacts.
I know, right? So I kept my, close to me. Mercury poisoning can cause ataxia, so the wobbly body movements, loss of coordination, dizziness, tremors, seizure, abnormal behavior, Hypermidria, involuntary body movements,
Kidney disease.
nystagmus, where the eyes are twitching, central nervous system depression, paralysis, loss of vision, blindness, and death.
Yes.
Yeah.
And these build slowly because, it's not like you eat mercury and you die, right? So it builds up
Repetition.
slowly. And then you see these things and you don't know, is my cat getting old? Does my cat have this? Does my cat have that? Because a lot of those look like cognitive decline to me. Like I'd be like, well, you're old. You deserved this. And so, and didn't know.
But
And
it might not be. It might be this food is hastening the development of these
And
things.
exactly.
Yes, that's the whole point, is that you don't know, and
Yeah.
no one can properly diagnose, decay, capabilities of the animal losing its cognitive function, or that, whether it's coming from a mercury laden diet or whether it's just coming from some sort of a genetic problem or a health problem in the cat naturally.
Yeah.
The point is that what if we can provide a pure healthy food, we take away one of two potential outcomes, and you're going to know what it is.
Yes. And, again, because it builds up so slowly, we don't know. And so I'm kind of looking around as I'm doing this research before we talk, and I'm like, which one of you is building
I'm
levels
thinking of
in you,
Oliver.
right?
Oliver won't eat anything that's not fish. I've tried. He won't. He just won't. So
And being a
changing his
boy,
food over to the Pure Cravings is really going to be a big health bonus for him.
yes.
I'm
And I
excited
do
to help.
want to say something that I think is a really important point. A lot of people, well, the better foods are more expensive. Of course they are. They're not getting the crap pieces of meat. They're doing mercury testing on all this stuff.
Right.
Of course it is. But here's the thing we found. They eat less of a high protein, no filler, no
And the
crap
poop
food.
that comes out doesn't stink like chemicals.
And there's less of it.
Yeah.
You are going to feed less. You are going to use less litter. I think it comes out in the wash, babes. Plus protecting
Besides,
your cat's
how long
health
is your
and-
cat going to live? How many extra years is he going to get?
And the quality of those years, Rita.
Right.
It's not like a cat living to being 15, 20, 25 years old. It's saying in the later years, because it's had a good diet from a kitten all the way through, those senior years are happy years. You're not just nursing someone through sickness. And it's a lot like people, right? You take care of your body as a person when you're young and continue to take care of it as an adult, and it's going to do
100%.
right by you.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's what we want to do, is bring that same philosophy to the cat world, right? We want to bring that same approach. Like, let's help these cats be healthy from day one to the last day.
Yes.
And dogs too. I mean, dog diets
And dogs too.
Yes.
Dogs too.
aren't
We'll
any
talk about
better.
that in a little bit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And keep them with
You have
us.
a dog, Linda. Do you have a dog?
I do. Yes. And we do see the rates of all these rising. And according to what I read, the neurological and kidney damage done by this mercury poisoning is usually irreversible. So by the time you figure it out, I'm sorry.
It's
That's
too
all
late.
I got for you.
By the time your
pathology.
cat shows he's ill, it's already
So
well taken.
start
and
now.
hold of him.
And yes.
Let's go ahead and take a little break, you
Okay.
guys. And we'll be back in just a couple minutes after a word from our sponsor. I can't wait to talk more about Pure Cravings.
Thanks, Rita.
And we're back with 19 Cats and Counting and the awesome Sean Wittenberg of Pure Cravings. I love the reason that you got involved in researching food and specifically fish, first for humans, and then you segued into cats. And now I understand you're going to segue again into dog food.
That's the next big step forward for us, but we're still focused on cats. Now we want to get one thing right at a time, and we really want to make sure we service each group one by one to their highest and greatest ability, and then move to the next. We're not trying to just brush over a lot and do a mediocre job. I think it'd be really valuable to just educate your listeners a little bit about how this mercury is getting into our fish.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Becoming an issue. So since the 1950s, right around the end of World War II to today, the mercury levels in our oceans have gone up by over 300%. And so what's been driving this increase has been mainly coal-fired power plants. So if you look at what's happened from the 1950s to today, countries like China or India or Southeast Asia around the world have gone from agricultural farming countries to industrial powerhouses, and they've done it on the back of coal. And so what happens is when you burn coal, there's mercury in the coal, and it's released as a gas when it burns, and it goes up with the smoke into the clouds. And as the rain falls, so does the mercury. And what happens is this elemental mercury, when it gets into the water, a chemical reaction takes place, and it becomes this new organic compound called methylmercury. And methylmercury is the neurotoxin. It's much more dangerous than the standard elemental mercury, and it's sticky. And it likes to stick to plant life and plankton. And small fish eat the plant life and plankton, and bigger fish eat the
little
small
fish.
fish.
Yeah.
And this process in science known as biomagnification, the average mercury concentration goes up as you go towards the apex predator. So a swordfish or a shark or a whale, this would be the top, right? But what you don't see in that is because the pollution is asymmetrical, it's not evenly falling everywhere. Inside these tuna schools, two fish that look identical to you and I can have a mercury concentration with a difference of over 10 times. So one of the tuna in that school would be a great tuna for any cat. The other tuna in that school would not. So we needed to make sure we had a way to identify only those fish, to pick out that fish and only pack in Pure Cravings, the pure fish, not the fish that would be too high in mercury for a cat to eat. And so what we're doing right now every day is we're testing now, after 20 years of development, we're now testing between 10 to 12,000 tuna per day. And we're only selecting those fish that meet our published standards. So on average, about 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 of those tuna don't make it into our population. So the fish that we don't accept, the boat sells it to another supplier.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah, nothing's thrown away. So what Pure Cravings is really doing is cultivating the purest raw material in the world.
Yeah, you're taking the creme de la creme.
That's correct. And so one of the reasons Linda mentioned it's more expensive, it's because we're doing steps and adding costs that no one else is doing.
Yeah.
So if you looked at, as an example, the FDA and their role in human mercury testing, in the last 40 years, the FDA has done approximately 4,000 tests over 40 years. Again, Pure Cravings, 10,000 to 12,000 a day. So in a shift for us, we do the entire FDA's history of mercury testing proactively every day. So no one is going to provide a safeguard for your cat like Pure Cravings can, because no one has the technology, no one's doing the work. And quite honestly, I'd imagine, just like in the human food, most of the other brands wish we probably went away, because we're going to provide, we're going to change the standard. It's what we do.
Yeah.
We're gonna create a new standard, and I think that's a good thing, because that gives the pet parents an opportunity to vote with their wallet and to say, this is important to me, and it will push some of these larger companies to try to adopt similar protocols, and also ideally put pressure on the polluters to start to protect our environment. Because the thing I find about most pet parents is that they're very attuned to the connection between the environment, our food supply, and our health.
100%. Yes.
Pet
Yeah,
parents
you're right.
can connect those dots real quick.
You're right.
Because when we pollute in our oceans, it's actually impacting our health, not just the climate, not just, the sea life, but us ourselves and our loved ones, whether that's a kid or a cat or whoever is your baby.
100%.
They're going to be impacted as well.
100%.
And so what we want to do is create that. So we started with that wet cutlets and gravy, which you guys have got. Now we've gone out. We're going to have 40 SKUs of wet cat food, 40 different varieties by the end of this year, so that every single palate can be addressed. We're going to have the cutlets and gravy. We have a minced seafood line. We have a shredded chicken and organ meat line that's been antibiotic and hormone tested. We have a seafood line, shredded seafood and consomme, where we're taking fish fats and we're cooking the fish in fish fats so that they make the water extra delicious. And so they don't just eat the protein, they lick up all the water because they want the fats. So it's really a key driver to getting that hydration. We have a pate coming out. We have a mousse line coming out. We have a feeder stick coming out. And in the first quarter of next year, we'll have a dry kibble line coming out, which will be
I can't wait.
Grain-free, using anchovy, mackerel, and herring in a blended medley, all mercury tested, all below our standard, to make this product, so that you'd have everything from every variety of wet and then a couple of choices of dry, so that every cat parent can say, my cat likes this, and we can service that cat with the same philosophy of health and wellness for your pet.
There's some different flavors in there too that you can't really buy unless you go higher end. Is that because these fish are better health wise, like the herring and those type of things.
And we use the same, Safe Catch and Pure Cravings, we source the same fish I eat, you're feeding your cat, right? We're putting the purest products we can. So we're sourcing that. We're not using any byproducts. We're not using any fillers. We're going to take the human grade proteins, the exact same product from the exact same cold storage. If we were packing Safe Catch, we'd pull these tunas. If we're packing Pure Cravings, we'd pull these tunas and we'd make them the same way. So if you looked at the cutlets and gravy as an example with the tuna, the only difference between the human and the pet is that we've left the bloodline in, right? Which has more nutrients and iron, other available things for the pet to eat. And in the human side, we would cut those out.
Right.
That's
well,
the guys.
And I'll tell
that's the difference. That's it.
If y'all don't know, everything's about scent with a cat, right?
It is.
And so when a cat, especially if a cat gets a cold, a respiratory thing, and they can't smell, they get picky about eating as they get older, and their sense of scent goes. So our answer
that's why I'm with Missy.
And Rita had a cat's only pet sitting business for over 17 years, and sitters would call and say, this cat does not want to eat anything, and we'd be like, get something stinky, right? Get the tuna, go for the stink. So the fish foods are really great for those cats, but again, we've been worried about the mercury. So and human grade, that is a big one that we learned because we dove into the truth about pet food with Susan Thixton. And there are so many pieces and parts, which bless you, Sean, for figuring out the food and making that world, because all of I remember, I can't tell you how many now because it was a minute ago, but when we did our training, 22 macronutrients and X number of micronutrients that they need. So you have
to be a scientist to make this right.
True story.
People at home, they're not.
Yes.
I'm not.
Then they need enough protein and no fats, and these grains are bad, and no starch, and no to this, and it just became, and then the antibiotics and the pesticides and the food coloring. I looked up a food the other day that had red dye number 4. That was a big controversy 30 years ago. Remember that?
Yeah.
They quit making red M&Ms for a while
but they don't care about the pets, which is
because
stupid.
It's cancerous for people, but we're gonna put it in Fluffy's food because that's a great idea.
That's why I like, Sean, what you said, that you're going to set the bar higher and everybody else is going to have to come up to meet you. And when people
hopefully exceed us, we want someone to push the bar past us.
We see that in all industries, but what's important here is so people realize, go and buy these better foods, because you're going to force these other foods to come up to their standards. It's like certain options used to be just really expensive when you bought a new car. And a lot of them have become standard. Why? Because everybody went here and said, we want this.
Yeah.
That's what people have to get more involved.
We hope mercury testing and heavy metal testing some days becomes as normal as a seatbelt in a car.
It should be.
I hope so.
I really do, because no one's out here marketing that they have a safer seatbelt. It's just standard, right? No one's saying
it's seatbelt.
It's a seatbelt's a seatbelt.
Yes.
We don't have a standard. And I think that's the key here is we need to create some standards around food purity and ingredients. And again, all of us are in a process of consistently learning, right? Our knowledge about what's safe and great for a cat today is greatly evolved from where it was even 5 to 10 years ago. And that science is continuing to push forward, and our understanding around health and wellness and how to improve is a never-ending process. It's going to keep evolving. We're going to keep learning. And we always say our products are never done, because if we have an opportunity to learn and make them better, we're going to learn and make them better. But our philosophy is through transparency too. We'll also tell everybody we changed from this source to this source. We did this, we did that. We get vocal about those changes, to our community, because we want people to know we're human beings doing our best, trying to do better and better and better. But it's part of us in our engagement in the community where we learn. So we have, if you go to purecravings.com and you go through our info and you ask some questions, we have experts online that can help answer questions. But if we don't know the answer, we'll say, we don't know, and we're going to get back to you. And I promise we will get back.
Somebody does get back. You guys still have your human food line as well?
Yeah. Safe Catch now is the number 5 tuna in America.
Nice. I don't eat much tuna because of this worry.
Well, I grew up.
It's a big diet food. I mean, that was a big thing, on the women's diet.
Oh yes, my mother was always doing broiled fish, stunk up the whole house when she was on her diets. But yeah, I grew up. Tuna sandwiches were like like you had a tuna sandwich at least once a week, and I can't tell you the last time I've had tuna for this exact reason.
I kind of miss them. I like tuna, but I just don't eat it.
Every once in a while, it's like this.
I'm gonna check that out.
SafeCatch.com for that one. Go check that out.
Yeah,
And
we will.
Linda and Rita will definitely send you some products for tuna to try as well.
There
when
you
these new products
go.
come out.
Love it.
So you can
I
give them a
will say,
shot.
you guys are on Instagram. You're on, yeah, and like all the social medias,
We're on
right?
all
Like
the
all
social
over the place.
handles, and I got a brilliant team who is able to, run those platforms and represent who we are as people. Because again, we don't want to we walk the line between alarmist and activist, right? We don't
We're the
want to
same. We get
we
it.
don't
Exactly.
want to scare people away from eating these seafood items because of mercury. So how do we deliver confidence in these products?
Yeah.
Ultimately, our truest, greatest goal is to do what Linda said at the beginning of this segment, and that is like, give me a solution so I can think about other things, right? Give me a brand
Exactly.
that
Yes.
I can get what I need. I don't have to think about it anymore.
I
I
am
know
not
I'm
over
doing the right thing.
exaggerating, Sean. I felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I was like, I'll just buy Pure Cravings and everything will be fine. And I won't have to
No.
look at it.
Because when
We're
I
over
failed
it.
at being able to create homemade cat foods that my cats would even eat, after a couple days they
know.
wouldn't eat them anymore. I felt like a failure. I'm a cat mom failure. I have
I
to
gotta
resort
be
to
good.
feeding,
And,
commercial brand foods that I don't necessarily 100%
And I
trust.
want to say, many clients come to us when we're doing our behavior sessions and they're like, I gotta admit, I fill in the blank, use clay litter, feed dry food, whatever that they were told was wrong. And they're so ashamed. And we're like, look, baby, do the best you can do, right? Yeah, exactly. Do what works for you. If you say you've looked at this price point, I literally cannot make, I just can't. I lost my job in 2020. We're struggling to
Well, and
rebuild.
me and you with 12 and 16 cats. It's
Exactly.
difficult.
So you know what? Buy some and
Mix it in.
alternate. Something is better than nothing. And again, I cut out all fish food because I just didn't trust it. So maybe I'd give chicken of the other brand and then give the Pure Cravings with the fit,
Right. That's what I'm going to
something-
do because I can't cut out tuna altogether because of
Yes.
Oliver.
Yeah. So
well,
something's
now you
better
don't have
than
to cut
nothing.
it out at all.
Exactly. Now we don't have to cut it out at all. But
You can
So
have it.
I will
know,
get the Pure Cravings instead. Yeah.
with everything, some recycling is better than nothing. Some, make some change.
Well,
Make this an
let's
occasional
also
thing
do
and a
this
treat.
right now. Let's do this. Let's offer. We're gonna go. If you go to Pure Cravings, we're gonna give a 15% coupon off, and we're gonna push that
nice.
right now. And
Sean.
for the first $1,000 worth of sales, we're gonna invest that $1,000 back into Cat Behavior Alliance to help support your cause.
Oh, you guys
So
are
we just want you guys
awesome.
to
Let us know the coupon code and we'll
I'm
make
getting
sure
it
to
for
put
you
it in the
right
write-up
now.
when we release.
I'm getting the
Sean,
coupon.
thank you. That's so sweet. I'm
Aw.
getting all misty over here.
There's so
Thank
many cats we
you.
want to help in cat because we just don't have enough donations coming into the
Yes.
sanctuary.
Well,
Thank
we
you,
want to
thank you,
help
thank
you
you,
right
thank you.
now, and so if
Thank
you could go cat love, was that cat love 15? Cat love
Cat
15.
Love 15. All right.
Cat
Thank
Love
you.
Cat Love
15.
15, and we're gonna be pushing some of that right back towards you too.
Well,
And
now we
Thank
love you
you.
even more.
Thank you.
Well,
Well,
I'm gonna have mascara dripping and stuff because he made me cry. But I did really want to talk about your social media for a minute because
I know we've got to wrap soon, but
you
let's
do
go.
something that I love. You're
Well,
not just your posts aren't all.
Yeah,
Look at my
because
fat food I've got for you.
one of my cat, I have each kind of cat, but one of my cats is definitely that last
It's
one.
this one. It's this post.
Yes.
She's like, did you see that post
Waist
about
tuck
overweight
long gone.
cats?
That's my peanut butter. Yep,
And
yep.
she's like, let's see, waist slim and tucked in. Yeah, I think that's
And
the other
Gigi
one. And
too.
this one is
She calls my Gigi manatee because she's kind of shaped like that.
That's mean.
I
That
fat
is a little
shamed
bit
her
mean,
cat.
Linda.
I
Come
know.
on now.
I fat
No
shamed
cat
her
shaming.
cat. She
Poor
woke up and I
Gigi.
was like, what happened? But
Poor
yeah,
Gigi.
so, and there are just some adorable cats on here, but there's
Are.
also really good information, fun cat fact. Cats spend an average of 12 to 16 hours.
You can't
sleeping
tell
each
here,
day.
but that's my beautiful
So,
Gigi.
yeah,
manatee.
she's a
So
chunky
cute.
monkey.
So cute.
This baby on their social media has the most
I
gorgeous
know.
markings
Look at
I
that.
have
That's a mackerel
ever
tabby.
seen. I know. That is the clearest mackerel tabby I've ever seen. So whether or not you're going to look for information on Pure Cravings food. Maybe you're already buying it and you already love it. There are other really good tips and cat information and adorable cats on their social media. So you need to follow all of them. We have
Yes.
Cat Behavior Alliance has
We do.
followed all of their social medias and even did a social media post about the Pure Cravings. So
Thank you
yes.
so much.
So yeah, we're running across stuff. Seriously, read it this morning. Did you see that post that Pure Cravings did? Because
And that's what you want. You want the water cooler talk, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and we're trying to get engagement, right? You're trying to get people to
Yes.
become a part of our community and introduce us to your cat and send us
Yes.
the pictures, and we want to repost them. We want to hear how their health is, how they're doing.
We
love the
cat
stories
people
about
hate sharing pictures of our cats, don't we?
Now that I have baby Jet, maybe I'll give her this last can and take a picture of her eating it.
Well, it won't be the last can.
She's about 10
I
weeks
did
old.
good. Yeah, a friend of mine came over last weekend. They got their very first kitten, and I sent a couple.
Did you
of
give
cans home with
some?
them because they weren't giving him wet food; they were just giving him dry. And I said, "I'll send you home with a couple to start with." And I said, "This is precious."
That was another comment I wanted
to make. You better
to
know
make.
how much I love you that I'm parting with this.
This is all life stages, right, Sean? All
Yep.
life stages.
Yeah.
So you can give it to your kitten, you can give it to your 19-year-old, which is good because I have both in my house.
I'm sorry. I would say let's focus on adults for now.
Okay.
Focus on feeding to adults.
Okay, so I won't give any to Jet yet.
Not just yet. Not just yet. We're actually doing a full panel. We might come out with another line.
Oh,
my
kitten.
My VP of product just yelled at me and said, no, the cat line's coming. I was like, okay.
Sorry.
All adults.
Well, when that comes out, I have a kitten. We're ready.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
I'm
I am excited, and I am not blowing smoke up your skirts, babe. We are so thankful for this.
I know. We have to wrap, Linda. So
yes,
pull it in, girlfriend. Pull it in.
But I'm so happy.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much, Rita. I just want to end with this. We really appreciate the opportunity to tell our story to your community and your listeners. We're a very, very, very small brand. We are just getting started, and when you're competing against $20 billion giants, it's really hard to be seen and heard. So the work you're doing is really meaningful for us, and we're very grateful to be a part of this. So thank you so much.
It's our pleasure.
To help, let us know.
Thank you.
We thank you. You're solving some of our problems, some of our listeners' problems, and doing some great stuff for the community and for the cats and upcoming dogs too. And humans. I'm going to check out your human too now because I miss my tuna.
Yes, me too. Yes, exactly.
Thank you so much, Rita, Linda. Appreciate you both so much. Thank you. Thank you.
And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't, of course, thank Linda Hall, who's always here needling me. I mean, being my friend.
It comes with the territory.
No, we both learned well from Richard Simmons, didn't we? How to needle each other in good way. And of course, Mark Winter, who gave us this awesome spot on Pet Life Radio. We have to thank you again for making us sound so good. And guess what? Both of our mics held up.
Right?
We've been having mic issues.
Well,
anyway, purecravings.com. And remember, every day is Catter Day. We'll see you next time. Let me stop the recording.